We drink 3 billion cups of tea a day. There are 1,500 varieties. But not all tea is created equal. The finest orange pekoe tea from India is some of the most expensive in the world, costing up to $600 a kilo. This is tea making as an art form. How do they do it? "2,000 meters above sea level, in the lush hills of Tamil Nadu, you'll find the Chamraj Tea Estate."
There are so many different kinds of tea. Black tea, white tea, green tea, Lapsang Souchong, Earl Grey, Darjeeling. You would think that they all come from different plants, but they don't. They're actually all leaves from the same plant, Camellia sinensis. The only difference is where the plant is grown and how long the leaves are allowed to ferment. Green tea is fermented for the least amount of time and black tea the longest.
These fertile hills are the perfect breeding ground for tea plants. But the sun that gives them life can also bake them to destruction. So the farmers take cuttings from the best adult plants and nurture them in a tea nursery. Tea takes time. After 18 months in the nursery, the plants are ready to go back outside, sheltered from direct sunlight by the shade of silver oak trees. With tea leaves, size matters. But it's not the bigger, older leaves that are most prized. It's the smaller, younger leaves that hold the most flavour and make the grade of orange pekoe.
Orange pekoe is a strange name for tea. Pekoe comes from the Chinese for white tips, which refers to the young leaves that are used to make the tea. And the word orange was added by Dutch tea merchants. They named it after the royal house of Orange to give the tea some kind of royal seal of approval.
நல்ல விரிஞ்ச இலையா பறிக்கணும், தயாரான இலையை எடுக்கணும், மக்கானதெல்லாம் விட்டுறணும், அடுத்த pluckingக்கு எடுக்கணும்.
Tools could bruise the precious plants. So each worker carefully uses their fingers to prevent damaging the leaves and ensure the plant's health for the next harvest.
இது மீனலை, இது தாயலை. இதுக்கு மேலே இருக்கிறது இப்படி வச்சு எடுக்கணும். அதை வச்சு எடுத்தாதாங்க, இல்லைன்னா காஞ்சிரும். அது எடுத்தால் காஞ்சிரும். அப்போ இதுலேயும் அடுத்தது மொக்கு வந்துடும்.
Loading up baskets that are roped around their foreheads, each worker hand-picks more than half their body weight in tea every day, up to 30 kilos a shift, which is bagged up and taken to the nearby factory. Here, they process up to 40 tons of tea a day. Their first problem is the leaves contain too much moisture, so they're spread on something called a withering trough. This blows hot air across the leaves to partially dry them out. As leaves wither, microorganisms break down their chemical structure, kicking off a process called oxidation, which darkens the tea's colour and gives it its taste. If the leaves dry out completely, oxidation would stop before they developed any flavour. So just like any good cuppa, timing is everything. The next challenge is to purge the partially dried tea of stones and dirt from the fields. A vibrating table levels the leaves before a giant sieve removes any unwanted particles. To mature the deep, rich notes of orange pekoe, the leaves get a battering by this machine. 3 crankshafts rotate the table, bruising the tea and causing it to blacken. This breaks down its cellular structure and speeds up oxidation, helping to develop the tea's aroma and mellow its taste, reducing bitterness. A humidifier sprays a fine mist of water to keep the leaves moist and prolong oxidation. But the timing has to be perfect. If it over-oxidizes, the whole batch will be ruined. To prevent that, they now need to dry the leaves, and fast. So the tea passes into an oven heated to 100 degrees Celsius. As the moisture evaporates over 40 minutes, the oxidation process stops with the flavour just right.
Have you ever wondered why Americans prefer coffee? It all comes down to the Boston Tea Party. In the 18th century, the Americans rebelled against their British rulers by dumping vast quantities of tea into the Chesapeake Bay. From that point on, US patriots tried to wean themselves off of tea in an act of defiance.
The tea may be drinkable, but it's still full of stalks that you wouldn't want in your mug. So it's over to a beady-eyed computer. Stalks are lighter in colour than the blackened leaves, and the machine uses infrared to spot the difference. Anything that's the wrong shade is blasted away by compressed air. While the unadulterated leaves are ready for the tea guru.
Very fruity flavor.
Hector is a planter with over 40 years' experience. He's a director of the estate and a master tea taster.
It is more similar to the wine tasting. So you have to really take the tea to your back of your tongue and keep it for 1 or 2 seconds. Fruity taste.
To keep his palate in tip-top tea-tasting condition, Hector is teetotal. Abstaining from alcohol keeps his taste buds fine-tuned. On average, he tastes around 350 cups of tea a day. And he wouldn't change jobs for all the tea in China.
If you said you wouldn't do something for all the tea in China, do you know how much tea you're talking about? China still produces more tea than any other country. It's like $5 billion worth. What wouldn't you do for $5 billion?
This tea gets the master's seal of approval. And it's ready to ship around the world. As for Hector, he's earned a tea break.